Welcome to the Dr. K Show. I am Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, a naturopathic doctor with nearly 4 decades of clinical experience, author and owner of the Karlfeldt Center. Here, we dive deep into the worlds of health, consciousness, self-improvement, spirituality, and the topics others might shy away from. Every week, I'll bring you thought-provoking discussions with leading authors, groundbreaking scientists, Nobel Prize winners, and experts shaping the future of our understanding. Together, we'll explore ideas that inspire transformation and elevate your health and purpose. Don't forget to check out the free ebook, The Science and Spirit of Transformation, available in the show notes. It's packed with actionable insights to help you on your journey of self-discovery and optimal health. And while you're here, hit follow, leave a review, and share the show with someone who needs a dose of inspiration today. Well, this is an absolute pleasure. I have Dr. Brett Bolton with me today. He is one of the leading hair transplant doctors in the United States.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is a great title, and I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, people fly to you from a little bit all over. So, yeah, there's a reason they come to you.
That's true. Yes, I've been doing hair transplants since I started. I began in 1997. And it's all I do. It's all I've ever done. I absolutely love what I do. I have a unique technique that I'm doing that sets me apart from everyone else in the industry. And it was created over time. And that's the reason why the patients are flying in from all over the world, because mostly what we're doing is corrective surgery. So the patients will go to the local doctor. They think, oh, he's a doctor. He does hair. They're all equal. And then they go get a procedure done, and then they're like, uh-oh, this doesn't look natural, or uh-oh, I didn't get the result I'm looking for. Then they're like, wait a second, now what's happened to my donor hair? What, am I running out of donor hair? I need to be a little bit more cautious this next time. Then they start doing research, then they learn about the fundamentals, then they learn about all the pros and cons of the different procedures. And then once they find me, my patients will literally fly in from, I'm embarrassed to say, there's parts of the world that I didn't even know existed where they're flying in from. I mean, not to sound like a yo-yo, but I remember asking my dad a couple times, Dad, where's this? Blah, blah, blah. My dad's a doctor, also 50 years obstetrician gynecologist. So he's like, I don't know that particular. He would mostly know, but there was a couple we didn't know. We had to look it up. But yes, it's quite an honor because I really do love what I do. I still every day get excited to come to work. Just my patient today is a perfect example. He originally flew in from North Carolina about 8 years ago, and he had 2 previous follicular unit extraction procedures. So I'm sure you're aware, but for the patients that aren't aware what a follicular unit extraction is, it's when they're using some type of a punch biopsy to individually remove the follicular units in the back of the head one by one. So the industry is touting that this is the best way to do a hair transplant. The follicular extraction, this is it. That's what they're promoting is a scarless procedure. It's the best. So anyways, he had 2 of these. His story is really funny. He had his first surgery where he was originally located in North Carolina, and he went to a doctor locally, went for the follicular unit extraction. They flew in a team of 2 people to do the procedure that aren't doctors. They did the procedure. He got the result. He said there was no result. He was unhappy. So then he moved to another state. He moved all over this particular patient, went to another state, met with the top doctor supposedly there in hair transplants, said, we have the best team in the world, went in for his follicular extraction. He showed up that day. It was the same people that did his surgery in North Carolina. So the team that did his first surgery, and he was already unhappy and he was looking to get it fixed. So he's like, well, I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. So he did it again, unhappy. So now he's got 2 FUEs, 0 results, spent some time, did some research, flew out to see me. And it's like, I have a pretty good memory for my patients, but this particular patient stuck in my head because He just like beat me up. Like, how are you going to give me a result? They can't give me a result. What are you going to do that's going to be different for me? How, just really just beat me up, And I assured him, I said, listen, this is all I do. This is 8 years ago now. This is 2017 or 18. And I said, this is all I do. It's all I've ever done. I said, listen, if something's not right, I will fix it for free. No questions asked. Doesn't cost. It's guaranteed you're going to be my happy patient. That's what I say to every patient. Been doing it the same way since I started, since 1997. So I promise you, God forbid there's a problem, I'll fix it. I'll make it right. You won't cost you a thing. You'll be happy. Bottom, to make the long story longer, he got an incredible result. Super freaking happy. Loved it. I'll even show, I have on my phone this morning. They sent me the pictures just so you can get a feel for this. So where I'm going with this story is they seek out the transplants, but they don't know what they're getting. And so they have no clue as to whether or not who's doing the procedure, if they're bringing in a team, if they're going to get the result that they're looking for. And unfortunately, you have a better chance of getting a bad result than you do of getting a good result. So I'm going to just kind of show you here, if you can kind of see this. So this is where he came into my office.
Yeah.
That's him after I did the procedure. And then that's just the one. Let me get you another. And then we took his temple. So if you can see over here, he had no temples. We reframed them.
Yeah.
And that's, in a single procedure. And it took him 2 to get that result he wasn't happy with. So it's hair transplants. People think, oh, it's like no big deal. Just go to get a hair transplant. It's not like that. There's angles. There's the placement. There's the removing of the follicles. There's your team, whether or not the team, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. So I worked with the same team 10 plus years. That's all they do. They cut grafts, they place grafts. I know the quality of their work. It's a different ballgame than if you're going to some fly-by-night place where you don't know who's cutting your grafts. You don't know how long the doctor, how many cases he's done. So it's the Wild West still is what it is. And it's gotten worse, not better over the years, because now they're offering all these different machines. All the machine companies are trying to make money. The Artist robot, the NeoGraft, all these different machines. They say, here, doctor, yes, you're a dermatologist. Why don't you do hair transplants? Use this NeoGraft machine and put it in your back room. We'll give you some technicians to bring over, and now you're a hair transplant doctor. And that's what I'm seeing. It's wild because monetarily it's expensive, but the reason it's expensive is because there's a lot of dynamics as to why. There's so few quality hair transplant doctors in the industry. So when you said I'm one of the greatest, I'm very appreciative. Thank you. It took a long time to build that reputation. And it's because of all the other patients, the doctors that they're just not, it's not their only gig. And I'm not knocking any of the doctors that are doing it, but they're doing other stuff. It's a plastic surgeon that offers boobs, noses, chins, blah, blah, blah. And they might do a couple cases of hair a month. Well, how is their team efficient at that? Or the dermatologist that's 8 hours a day treating, doing Mohs surgery and skin diseases and this and that. And let's go do a hair. It's not like that. If you really want a properly done hair transplant surgeon to do your job, you have to go to someone that's doing multiple cases weekly, monthly, been doing it a long time. It's intricate. There's the surgical aspect. There's the artistic aspect. There's the team dynamic. It's not as simple as the patients think. And
I mean, essentially, hair is such a big deal for people as we get older, for both female and males. That's our image to the world, and hair plays such a huge role. Yeah, and so when we see these kind of thinning kind of the sides or thinning on the top and all of that, and that really impacts our confidence in how we portray ourselves to the world. So it's such a big deal that it's done right. And then, like you're saying, this is an expensive procedure. And if you pay that amount of money, obviously you want to make sure that it looks good. And it stays good.
You're 100% right. The patients that will come to me, I get from every walk of life. The majority of my patients are not the richest people in the world. Usually they're patients that are getting a line of credit, using their credit cards. These are younger patients that want to either get a better job, they want to meet a better partner, they want to feel better about themselves. That is the majority of the patients that I have. However, I get literally billionaires. I was in Nashville. I've worked on all the country music stars. I recently just did a founding member of rock. I've done a lot of celebrities. I've done senators. I've done politicians. And everyone has the same thing in common when they come into my office. It doesn't matter if you're the truck driver or you're a United States senator. You look in the mirror and you're unhappy with what you're seeing and you want to improve it. I'll say the same thing. I look at this, and this is not the version of myself I want to see. And when they lose their hair, they lose their confidence. Exactly what you said. So they've lost their confidence. Their mojo's down. They're just not the same person that they were when they had their hair, and they want to get their hair back. And once they get their hair back, when they come back into my office, you can just their shoulders are so high. It's incredible to see. It literally makes it's why I love it, because I see the change it makes in these patients. And I know I don't mean to be corny. It's life changing for them. It changes their life, because these guys, when they lose their hair, they're wearing a hat. They don't want to go out. They don't want to go to their religious service because they can't wear their hat. They don't want to go to events where they have to wear a suit because they want to wear a hat. I've had patients that would wear a hat until they turn the light off with their significant other and put it on the nightstand. They're so self-conscious about it. And it's really, it's hard to get until you start losing your hair. Once you lose your hair, it affects you in a way that you just can't understand unless you've been through it.
Yeah, examples. My brother, he's 5 years older than I am, so he's in his 60s, and all of a sudden, I see those little spots, and then you start to, I can't let this happen, can't let this continue, and so then you do whatever you can to address it.
Yes, and then they will do anything to, they're trying any lotion, any potion, they're trying to do anything they can to fix it, and a lot of them will desperately go to their local doctor, which is where they run into trouble with hair transplants. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, but you have a better chance of getting a bad result than you do of getting a good result in hair transplants.
That's sad. I mean, there should. So like you're saying, it's kind of like horrible. The Wild West. So it's not horrible. A lot of kind of regulations horrible. In regards to procedures and outcome then.
No, and the majority of clinics are breaking the law. And there's no regulation. It reminds me of when they were doing laser hair removal, was very popular. And all of a sudden, everyone started doing laser hair removal. You had the chiropractor offering it. You had the podiatrist offering it. Everyone started doing it because they were making money and there was zero regulation. Then they cracked down and said, well, wait a second. You're a chiropractor. Why are you doing laser hair removal? I mean, obviously you're a doctor. You can do it, but that's not your field, So then they put in all these regulations and things like that. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of where we are with the hair transplants is you have people doing the extractions that have zero medical training. I mean, they're not even medical assistants, and they're taking the machine and they're breaking the skin, which as far as I know is against the law in every state in the country. So they're physically breaking the skin barrier because they're removing the donor. They're making it out like it's nothing, but they're poking holes in the back of your head. It's crazy. And they do it under doctor supervision. Well, you know how that works, right? The doctor may not even be in the office, or maybe not even in the state with a lot of these clinics. And so you don't know who's injecting you with local anesthesia. You don't know who's removing your donor. There's no credentials. So that's why I call it the Wild West. What I'm doing here, I'm in my clinic right now. I do any anesthesia I do myself. Any removal or extraction of the donor I do myself. So I am here the entire time. I don't leave the surgical office, and you have my full undivided attention from the time you walk in my door to the time you leave. And so, yes, I have a team that will cut the grafts, they place the grafts, but that's totally different versus them injecting and cutting and doing that stuff. That's completely different.
And
So yeah.
and so in addition to then, I mean, obviously you being there, being the one doing it, what are, I mean, you're talking a little bit about the angles of when you're put them in and all of that. So, and I would assume when you do a graft or you have kind of the follicle, you place that into an environment and you want to make sure that it is a good environment that hair can grow in. Because the worst that
100%.
can happen is that you put it and then there's just like no nourishment, there's no support,
100%.
and
Yeah.
it just kind of dies off.
Well, what you're saying is exactly right. So the care of the tissue from once it's removed from the scalp is extremely important. How that tissue's handled. So how quickly it's put into saline or whatever mixture the doctor's using to preserve it to make sure it stays viable. And then the handling of it when they're dissecting the grafts out, how long it stays out, how quickly they dissect it to the follicles that we want, whether it's a one hair graft, two hair graft, multiple follicular graft, or so forth, and then back into the petri dish with the solution that's making sure it stays viable. So you're right. And then when they're placing the grafts, a lot of them will keep it on their hand or it can dry out. It can die before it gets there. So there's so many different aspects of the proper care and handling of the tissue. So you nailed it. And then also what you said is when you place it, is it in a good spot with good blood flow? Are they putting the right size graft in the right opening for the right area? You're on the money with what you said.
And so are there, I mean, from all your expertise, what are the factors that tend to drive hair loss? I mean, what is it that you see that tends to be the reason why this is taking place?
So the great news is this is a very simple answer, and it's all genetic, especially with men. 99.9999999% of the time, it's going to be genetic male pattern hair loss. And what's happening is, as men, it can come from, there's that old wives' tale that comes from the mom's side. The answer is it's in the DNA. And it can be mom's side, dad's side, it could be immediate family, it could be 10 generations back. You can see everyone in your family has a full head of hair and you're bald. And that doesn't mean they're not your family. It means Uncle John from 10 decades ago had this DNA that got passed on to you. That's all that means. So it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's mom's side or dad's side or 50-50 on this throughout the chain. My biggest indicator is if the son looks like the dad physically and the dad has hair loss. That's been my number one best indicator to follow. But that still doesn't even hold true. So what's happening is as we're aging, our testosterone in our body, it's converting into the dihydrotestosterone, the DHT, that causes a mucousy secretion called sebum to build up. That little sebum buildup ends up miniaturizing the hair follicle, and then that keeps the hair from making its way through. So when you see initially you start losing your hair, it starts kind of shrinking. You'll see areas that, this hair doesn't seem to grow or it's not as thick as it used to be. It's because it's going through that genetic male pattern loss process. And once you start to see that miniaturization, you're going through it. So with men, it's genetic. When we talk about females and hair loss, they can have male pattern hair loss as well. So they can have genetic male pattern hair loss. And it's the great news for a female who has that is that's your best choice, believe it or not. Of all the choices of why you're losing your hair, you want genetic male pattern hair loss because one, it's the easiest to detect. Two, it's the easiest to treat. It's easiest to fix. You can immediately diagnose it. We meet these angles in our corners. With females, they have that nice rounded feminine hairline. And what happens when they lose their hair with male pattern hair loss is they look like a man. They create these recessions in the corner. You can see it very easily. We confirm it with blood work and things of that nature, but It's usually, again, 99.9% correct on the diagnosis as soon as you see that for the most part. And they can be helped with female minoxidil. A lot of times we put them on minoxidil. It helps to keep what they have in place. And a lot of times they're able, if they have early loss, sometimes they might be able to get a little bounce back from the minoxidil. But more importantly, we're able to stop them from losing more hair. Then it's an easy procedure to restore what they're missing and get them back to where they want to be. So yeah, we always want to first figure out why they're losing their hair, stabilize it, and then we want to, so we don't have a moving target. And then it's easier to get them to the finish line.
Yeah, and so if we're talking about testosterone, that being kind of elevated, and dihydrotestosterone, where, and that creates that male baldness. But how, like thyroid and other
For
hormones?
sure, absolutely. There's so many different types of diseases. What, like you said, thyroid, pituitary. When women go through menopause, anything that's affecting the hormones for sure can have an impact on hair loss for both men and women. We don't see it as commonly with men. We mostly see that those hormonal hair loss changes more so with the females. But then they can have more serious, like some, immune disorders. There's a lot of more serious things. So I'm not being, joking when I say male pattern hair loss is your best choice. It is, because it could be a lot more serious, where we see like, autoimmune diseases or collagen vascular disorders. There's a lot of more serious things that can be in play that, we want to make sure that is corrected prior to getting your hair back, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because you have, like you're saying, autoimmune conditions. We have big patches falling out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
is that even fixable by doing transplants or?
So what you're saying is correct. Yeah, it's fixable. But step one is figuring out why you're going through that. We want to make sure you correct that first. If you have an autoimmune disease, you got to go see your doctor, figure out what's going on, get that stabilized. Same thing. I don't treat anything except I do hair transplants. But I recognize, hey, you got an issue. Here's who you need to go see. So I'll send you to your internist. I might send you to your OB-GYN. I might send you to your family practitioner. Depending on what I'm thinking you may have, that's where I guide you. That's not my forte, and I don't claim it to be my forte, but I can pick up the male pattern hair loss pretty simply for both males and females. But I still will confirm it to make sure. So I will send them to whoever their GP, or a lot of women, their GPs, their OB-GYN, believe it or not. And so they'll say, hey, have them check your blood work, make sure everything's in line. Then my diagnosis is going to be correct if everything's fine. They pick something else up, then we're going to go from there and decide if that makes more sense to pursue that avenue. But otherwise, it's, we're going to get you on minoxidil as a female, or finasteride and minoxidil as a male.
Yeah, and I would assume, I mean, with you then seeing so many heads, so to say, I mean, and kind of recognizing, is this something that I need additional assistance alongside with what I do?
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yeah, because I won't even do a surgery on a patient until we figure out the root cause of the loss. So because there's no point. I mean, they're not going to be happy. My number one, like, I'm not going to do a surgery on someone if I can't make them a happy patient. And if I give you hair and you lose hair, you're going to come back and say, Dr. Bolton, you suck. I don't want to hear that. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to, Dr. Bolton, you're the best. You fixed me. You're great. That's what I'm looking for. So I will say there's no point in me doing your procedure until we figure out the underlying reason you're currently losing your hair. Once we get that situated and that stabilized, I'll be more than happy to do the procedure for you. Until that's situated, there's nothing, unfortunately, I can do for you, because it's not. I don't want to waste your time or your money.
No. I mean, and that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, the best business is the one that continues. It's not the quick bucks right now, and only happy patients, are the ones that keep you going.
All you need is one rotten patient, as you know, to just make your life miserable. And that's the last thing you want, is that one squeaky guy who And when you deal with the public, as you know, everyone's not going to be happy no matter what. The funniest thing is my patients that I feel that like, oh my God, what an incredible result. They're like, well, doctor, if you look back here, this one hair, it's like, oh, you were bald, and now you're complaining about it. You know what I mean? That's the irony of this. Is like, oh, it's always the guy. I'm like, wow, that's an incredible. I'm not happy, doctor, and I'm like, okay, what can I do to make you happy? It's like it's a funny. I'm sure you know the same thing, right? It's always
Yeah.
that guy,
Yeah.
always that
Always.
guy.
Always. And then we have, I mean, like, people, they do kind of like PRP injections and exosome injections and stem cell rubs and things like that. And I assume with those, I mean, they're helpful, but if you don't have a follicle, you don't have a follicle,
Yeah,
and
right.
nothing is going to grow out of nothing.
Yes. So I started in 1997, and there have been so many different advancements, they call them, in hair transplants, and none of them are advancements. They're just avenues for doctors to sell you something else to make extra money. I will tell you firsthand, and I will go against any other hair transplant doctor who wants to come and have this conversation with me. PRP does not work. It doesn't work. You get some patients very rarely that'll say, "Oh yeah, I noticed a difference." It doesn't work. PRP is for orthopedics. PRP is for joints. I mean, I just watched my dad get his PRP and it worked. I saw it firsthand. It's terrific. I mean, immediately healed him. He did an injection in his hips. He did it in his knee. The Dr. Lacat is incredible. Incredible. Works. PRP in the head, all it does is hurt and doesn't work. Save your money. Don't do it. It's a waste of time. The exosomes, same thing. That's all. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. The only thing that I've seen that I can tell you with confidence that works are the FDA approved treatments. And that is what we talked about, the minoxidil and the finasteride, both of which have been on the market for over 50 years, both generic, and they work. They're not meant to grow your hair back. We're just trying to help prevent future hair loss, to stabilize you, at the very least, so you don't go backwards. And you might get a little bounce back if you catch it early, but that's bonus if you get that. We're just trying to support what's left is where we're at right now. That's it. So the PRP, I mean, I've never offered it, but I've worked with so many patients that have had it done, and I've had a couple guys that'll tell me they felt it worked, but the other 99 or 98% are all saying, "What a waste! It just hurt. I actually lost more hair." I mean, that's the response I'm getting. So if there's a doctor out there who wants to come and tell me a different story, I would love to hear it. But that's why you don't see it advertised a lot anymore from doctors, because they got the pushback. And I keep waiting for the pushback with this FUE. But this is still like the gold standard, which to me, it's the biggest crock of nonsense in hair transplants. Are you familiar with the story with that at all?
No, yeah, please tell me. Yeah, please
Okay.
tell me. I would
So,
love to.
okay. All right. So I started, as I was saying, in 1997. I was in my internship down here. I was originally going to be an orthopedic surgeon. And that was always my plan. My dad's an obstetrician gynecologist. He's my idol, still my idol to this day. Want to do whatever I want to be a doctor. So my plan, when I was younger, I used to do, a lot of taekwondo, and I tried out for the Olympics in '88, blah, blah, blah. So I broke a lot of bones, right? I've had two shoulder surgeries, knee surgery, broke all my fingers, whatever. Plan on being an orthopedic surgeon. So I hated Michigan because it was cold, as we were talking about earlier. And I wanted to always get out of there. I always remember back in the day, there was the USA Today. You look on the back of it, there's the map of the whole country. There was one red dot, which was Florida. I'm going there. That was always my plan. That was my plan. So I went to Michigan State undergrad. Then I went to medical school in Iowa. And they had a program where you could do your clinical portion of the medical school the last couple of years out of state. And they had a lottery program for the different states. There were 2 spots open for Florida. I won, got Florida. I'm in heaven. So I went from Michigan to Iowa. Now I'm down in sunny South Florida. This is 1994. Happy as a lark. Got out of there, right? Never leaving. Where I'm going with the story is when I came down here, HMOs were just brewing, just starting. And I was working in an office. It was called the Orthopedic Care Center. And I was working, one of the original HMOs was started by a doctor there by the name of Barry Silverman. So I'm here in the beginning of this whole thing, and I saw this whole thing where HMOs were taking over, So now all of a sudden you have a doctor that the health organization says, okay, you can't prescribe this medication because it's too expensive. We want you to prescribe this. You can't put your patient in the hospital for 3 days. We say it's only 1 day or none. You can't use this lab. You have to use it. So they when you remember it started, it was like a pendulum. It went all the way from doctors controlling everything. Now it went all the way to the health organizations controlling everything. And I'm watching doctors take charts. Literally, I swear, I saw this doctor throw it on the ground and stomp on him. He's like, I can't do it. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. And so I'm talking to my dad, and he's like, that sounds terrible. It hadn't hit the rest of the country at this point. And I said, I don't want to deal with this, Dad. I don't want, that's not what being a doctor is. Being a doctor is not about having somebody who doesn't know anything about medicine tell me which patient, what drug I can prescribe, who I may or may not admit to a hospital, how long they should be. I said, that's not medicine. That's cutting costs. And I said, I'm out. And I had a friend that was in the same boat. He was a radiologist, and he was getting the same thing. He's like, this is freaking horrible. I don't want to deal with this either. So he started working for this company. It was like an international company doing hair transplants. And he's like, it's incredible. The patients love the results. I'm traveling from different, going from Nashville to Dallas to Portland. He's like, it's awesome. I love it. The patients love it. They're building up. They're looking for another doctor if you're interested. And I said, okay, let me talk to the guy. So I'm now in my internship at Palmetto General Hospital, and still deciding what pathway I want to go. I met the owner of the company. He told me the deal. I'm like, sounds great. He hired me before I got out of my internship. So I came out of my internship and went straight into hair. So now here I am in 1997, fresh out, and they want me to fly out to Barcelona to the International Society for Hair Restoration and Surgery conference. So it might have been 1996, 96, 97. Don't quote me on the exact year. So I fly out to Barcelona, and it was fascinating. The most fascinating thing is all the American doctors are promoting back then. They were promoting flap surgeries where they were taking big chunks and moving it. There were scalp reductions where they're cutting out pieces and sewing it together. Plugs where they were taking a punch biopsy that might be the size of a pen where they're poking holes out and plugging holes on the top, and those big plugs. This is what the Americans were presenting. And I'm watching this, and all of a sudden this little Japanese guy gets up, goes, hello, my name is Dr. Blah, 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 and I'm here to introduce a one hair graft. The whole audience is like, oh, they gasped. They're like, oh my gosh, a one hair graft. So I was at the conference where they introduced the one hair graft. So now all of a sudden we were showing these grafts with multiple follicles, flaps, scalp reductions, and this guy's doing one hair grafts. And the reason why we didn't know about that is because of the war, the Second World War. There was no communication with Japan, and there was no communication internationally. So we weren't sharing knowledge. And once they came up with the International Society, all the doctors from around the world came and started presenting their ideas. So now we're going through from where we're doing these multiple hair plugs, grafts, to now to one hair grafts. So just like the HMO pendulum where the health organization took over, now they only want to do one hair grafts and follicular units, where a follicular unit is a naturally occurring bundle of hair we all have, comes in groupings of maybe one hair, two hair, three hair. Rarely you might have a four. It's usually 2-3 hairs is a follicular unit. The hair transplant industry averages uses 2.5 hairs. So now the industry went from only the follicular unit transplants. They went from when they were doing the big ones to just these little grafts. And that's all they do today. So right now they still only will do what's called a follicular unit hair transplant or a follicular unit extraction. Well, when I started off with this company, as I was telling you, and I was going to different centers. I was going to Nashville. I was going to Dallas. I was going to Portland. I was going to Cleveland, to Columbus, blah, blah, blah. One of the clinics I worked in was in Tennessee in the Brentwood office. And there was a pioneer in hair transplants. His name was Dr. Constantine Chambers. And he had a very big practice there. He was doing a huge, had centers across the country. And he had his own plane, and he unfortunately died in a plane crash. And so when he died in the plane crash, his entire medical practice came into the Nashville office. So I'm seeing his work from when he started his career to where he ended up. And I'm seeing, and he's doing in this crown, he was taking like these plugs. I mean, I'm talking, they were like 15, 25 hair plugs, but he put them on such a sharp angle and built them. I mean, I go, how many surgeons did you have? They're like one, their whole head's full. Okay. From these big, huge plugs. So, but now the industry's saying, hey, you should only use a one hair graft or 2-3 hair graft. That's it. When I'm seeing this guy's doing these monster plugs and getting these incredible results. And I'm like, well, why are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Why are we just doing only 1s and 2s? So he also had those big plugs in the front back then. They weren't doing the soft grafts. So now I have to soften these big plugs with a 1 or 2 hair graft. It doesn't work. So I did it, and you see right through it, all the plugs. I'm like, I can't fix this guy with all these plugs with a 1 or 2 hair graft. So I started trying to mess with the old technology, the new technology, trying to bring these together because I knew there was a value to what he was doing with these stronger grafts, these multiple these plugs. And so I kept toying with it. I used different size openings, different like slots. I did slits. I did different things trying to figure out how to maximize my graft size, starting with little 1s and going to 2s and 3s and a little bit bigger, then a little, trying to build this transition zone to help block you from seeing these huge plugs. And by tinkering with this, I was able to figure out what I'm doing today, which is a combination of graft sizes. I'm not handcuffed to a 1 hair graft or a 2 hair graft. That's the same thing as listening to an HMO about how many days my patient should be in the hospital. No one's going to tell me, hey, doctor, you can only use this type of graft. That doesn't work for me. I'm going to do what the patient needs to get them the best result. And so I use a combination of graft sizes, and I'm the industry outlier, and they all know what I'm doing, and they all are like, I'm taboo because I'm using these multiple follicular grafts. Like, oh my God, he's archaic. Oh my God, he's doing this. It's comical. So my patients get more hair, less surgeries. They're in and out of my office like with way less. I mean, this guy who had 2 FUEs had no results. My one result, he got triple the result, and he's happy in a procedure. I mean, that's just a typical example of what I see.
Yeah, and I mean the HMO aspect, insurance, and how that drives the doctor's decisions. Yeah, to me
100%.
that's outrageous. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not a company, it's not an HMO company or insurance agent or whatever that is going to know what is best for this individual patient that is in front of this doctor. This doctor is analyzed to see what this patient needs. And there's no formula out there that is going to be better than that. So to me, yeah, it is a system that should be scrapped. Yeah, because it is not true medicine. Yeah, and
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. And that's how I felt. That's to me where the hair transplant industry is. So you have these websites that I tried to get on their website. I don't even want to even give them any credit, but a big hair transplant website, they won't even allow me on there because I don't do only follicular unit hair transplants. As a doctor doing this 28 years. Okay. So, in that, I have patients that'll post on websites. They will immediately attack my work and say, "Oh my gosh, you're going to him. He's archaic. He's using the oldest technology in the book." I mean, these are people that don't know the first thing about a hair transplant that are looking at my results from like right after I do a surgery and say, "Oh my God, that's going to be a terrible result." I mean, it's like, when you deal with the internet, you're dealing with just, a bunch of, yahoos that think they're the medical expert and, they don't know the first thing about it, but they're the expert on there, right? And they're going to say, oh, he should be in jail for this, what he's doing. That's what they say. It's comical.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what works works. I show you my results and show me your result, and we'll compare. And at the end of
100%.
the day, what is the best result? What is benefiting the patient the best? And then I don't care about your philosophies or theories or whatever that may be, or if you're following a certain standard of care. We are here for the patient and to make sure that they get the best possible outcome, and whatever that is what should be done.
100% correct. 100%. So one of the things we learned from when remember the plugs, they had those big, looked like doll's hair, they'd have separated. Well, because the graft was so big, they had to leave space for the blood supply, or if those big grafts were too close, they'd compete with each other, then they die off. So they would punch those big graft holes out of the back, and we learned that destroys the blood supply. It destroys the nerve supply. It would the back of the hair looks like it's like eaten apart, and like we learned that was an antiquated way of doing the procedure. Okay, what happened is the strip procedure, when it came, what really got popular with the one hair graft, the patients were having less surgeries and they were happy. And one of the old time doctors, I hate to even say it, I was at this conference, I don't even want to say it, but everyone knows who he is, gets up and says, we need to do a follicular unit extraction because we're going to be able to basically took the plug, reinvented it, because these old time docs were doing 100, 200 plugs and making a fortune. So they wanted to get back to where they were punching the holes so they could charge by the graft and it was a money grab. I hate to say it. And the reason it picked up is because they're calling it scarless, when it's the opposite of scarless. You have more scars. Instead of a linear scar, you have thousands of holes in the back of your head. Then if you go back again, then you have double holes where they hit it. This looks mothy. And then they're pulling outside of the donor zone where they got to take it higher to get more hair. And then it's not a safe hair because the hair that they're taking from is genetically programmed to fall out. So they're selling it. The FUE is like the latest, greatest, best technique, when it's the oldest piece of garbage in hair transplants. And when these people are sitting here telling me I'm antiquated, I'm like, you have no clue of the history of the hair transplant. You're getting a reinvented plug. That's what it is. It's just a smaller plug. It's a punch. They're getting punched in the back of their head. So they're blindly punching holes out, trying to get a perfect graft by punching a hole. So the transection rate of the follicle, when we open them up, we see exactly how the follicle looks like. We're bringing it back, approximating the edges. It's a clean strip. It's undetectable if it's done properly. versus the amount of destruction of the follicles, the unsafeness of where it comes from. So and because anyone can do it, and they can offer it in their back room, and they can bring in technicians, it's exploded. So now you have places like Turkey that are offering it for $3,000. Come fly out to Turkey, get a hair transplant. So you see planes full of people with headbands leaving Turkey because it's the hair transplant capital. God bless you. You want to go to Turkey? Do you know who's working on your head? Do you have any clue who's in there? What's your recourse? I mean, I get it. They want to save money, but cosmetic surgery, my best advice is don't shop price, shop quality of your doctor. That's the best way to do it because you're going to pay for it in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the most expensive thing is what you pay for that doesn't work. So then you just wasted money. Whether it's not a lot of money, I mean, 3,000 is still 3,000.
But more importantly, it takes a while to grow out, and then it costs you donor hair if it's not properly done. They put these unnatural looking hairlines where it goes. You can see all these guys from Turkey. They go straight across. They look really bizarre. So losing time, you're losing money. You're now worse off than you started. So that's what I'm saying. You have a better chance of getting a bad job than a good job.
So now you're going to be bald on top, and then you're going to be bald on the back.
Yeah.
They took all your donor hair.
Correct. It's 100% true. And then the hair that they took, if it's programmed to fall out back here, it falls out wherever they put it. So then they're moving hair, and then they lose it, and then they have all these holes on the back of their head. I have like so many pictures on my website showing all this stuff. But you can't explain this to a young patient. I don't want the cut. I'm like, you're getting cut with an FUE. You don't even understand. How do they get the hair out? How are they going to get it if they're not cutting you? They're cutting you multiple times. They say it's scarless. There's more scars. It's a marketing scam. It's a shame. It's a money grab, like PRP, like all this selling of all this nonsense. It's a shame. I don't sell anything. I don't even sell hair transplants. When a patient comes in, I say to them, listen, I'm not here to sell you a hair transplant. This is something you either want to do or you don't want to do. Here's the information. Here's what I do. It's up to you if you want to go for it. We're not pushing anyone because you won't be happy. If I'm pushing you to do it, and then the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, you're going to say, doctor, this is terrible. You're never going to be happy. So you got to want it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, a good product sells itself. And then people that see a good product, they want to have that product as well. And so
100%.
Yeah. Well, how can people find out about you and everything that you do? Where would they go?
Awesome. So Dr. Brett Bolton, my website is greathairtransplants.com. And one of the things I wanted to mention to you, so there's this company, it's a television show. It's called The World's Greatest Television Show. And what they do is they pick companies in the industry that they do research and they feel are the best at what they do. And they've done programs on Coca-Cola, NASCAR, 3M, Dow, they're picking Budweiser, they're picking top quality companies that they feel are at the top echelon of what they do, and they pick smaller companies. So I got a call, my office got a call, hey, the World's Greatest Television Show wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay, so I talked to them. They're like, hey, we've been doing research and we've come across you. You keep coming up from other doctors. And we think you could be a great candidate for being chosen for the show. And they're like, would you possibly be interested? And I said, well, let me check my schedule, see if I can do that for you. so I said, yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So they're like, okay, well, we'd like you to talk to the producers or whatever, or casting, whatever it was at that point. Or I said, sure, I'd be happy to. So I went and spoke with them and explained to them why I feel I'm the world's greatest hair transplant surgeon, telling them why I think I am, not thinking, first of all, I'm just thrilled anyone's calling me saying this, hey, we think you're the world's greatest, right? I'm already just like elated, to go home, tell my dad, hey, Dad, listen, proud of myself. Anyways, I talked to them, spent an hour talking to them, and then I didn't think anything of it. They're like, hey, we interview multiple other doctors. We're talking to other doctors in other parts of the country. We'll let you know. About a month or so later, I got an email, Dr. Bolton, congratulations. After our review of the industry, we feel that you are the world's greatest hair transplant surgeon. And so they came out and they filmed me. They spent the day filming me. And it's the show airs on Bloomberg. It's going to be on actually in a few days, November 22nd at 2 p.m. on Bloomberg television. They put it with other businesses. So they do like a half-hour segment. Each show gets about 3.5 minutes. And it'll be on November 22nd, November 29th on Bloomberg TV. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
That's really cool. I mean, so here you're one of the lucky that wins the lottery to go into Florida. And now you're chosen from this very prestigious organization that really takes their time to analyze the different companies. And so now it's not just your billionaires or your patient flying in thinking that you are the world's best, but it's that kind of acknowledgement from an outside party that looks at all of the different potential candidates, and you got picked.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and what they said is we see what you're doing is unique. They said we clearly see what you're doing is unique, and we understand why you're doing what you're doing, and that's why they chose me, because the rest of the industry is a flock of sheep, and they only will do this one method. They're not willing to do anything bigger than a follicular unit. Well, why would I put a 1 hair, 2 hair graft when someone has hair around it in this area? Why wouldn't I put a bigger graft and get them more hair? It's just so basic. So I'll do the little grafts in the front, but once I get behind that first pinky or so, everything has density grafts to create more density for the patient. So they were able to recognize that, and I'm very thankful for them. That was, I'm very honored. Very humbled by that.
Even though when the people that don't know say that it's archaic, here.
I'm like they call me the dinosaur in transplants. It's the funniest thing. I love it. They're like, this guy, you can go on Reddit and read what they're saying. They're like, he should be locked up, put him in jail. He's torturing patients and harming them. And it's like, God, 28 years. 28 years doing this. If I felt that there was a better way to do it, I would do it that way. I, from the bottom of my heart, am doing what I believe is the best, most efficient way to do it. And I go to sleep like a champ every night because I feel I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Dr. Bolton, this was amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hair, like I mentioned, it's such a sensitive topic. And to have somebody that is skilled and knowing how to do it appropriately, making sure it's consecutive results, that patients are happy with. So thank you for being that one person that kind of sticks out. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for having me on your show. I greatly appreciate it. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thanks very much. Awesome.
Thank you for joining me on the Dr. K Show. I hope today's episode sparked new ideas, challenged your perspective, or inspired you to take a step toward a healthier, more empowered life. Remember, you can download my free ebook, The Science and Spirit of Transformation, right now. It's waiting for you in the show notes. Don't miss this resource to deepen your understanding and continue your journey of growth. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a review, follow us, and share this episode with friends or family. Your support helps us bring more enlightening conversations to listeners like you. Until next time, I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, reminding you to live with purpose, curiosity, and courage.